All right, everybody, welcome to the first episode of Indie Inquiries in a long time. We have a new overlay, and with Shark kind of stepping away, I've asked my friend Rob, of course, who was one of my previous co hosts from the live shows, and a friend of mine, to come on as the co host to review indie game store pages. And I know, Rob, you've been really wanting to get back into looking at indie games as well.
Yeah, no, this is exciting for me to jump back in. Looking forward to this one, and we'll see where that goes from there.
And since we are kind of running this as kind of a second test bed for the show, let us know what you think in the comments down below. And if people enjoy things and you would like us to go to your store page for a future show, please get in touch. You'll find links to the Discords, Patreons, all that good stuff down below, as well as up there in the corner for the overlay. So, for this week, or for this episode, we're going to be taking a look at one that was submitted to me by my friend Trayvon, who is working on the game Buluk Mayan Warfare. This is a kind of action RPG built around Aztec and Mayan mythology and history. So, with him being a friend, that means either I'll have to be extra kind or extra mean. We'll see where it falls at the end. But as always, we're going to start with the capsule or the little thumbnail. So, for this one, I mean, it looks okay. I think it's a little too zoomed out, like, from, like, the text point of view and, like, the main character in the middle.
Yeah, and this is going to be a theme from me throughout, but it is very colorful. The graphics look nice. It's a nice image in general. But yeah, the main character is kind of far away in the center. My other only comment is that the text, and again, another theme that'll come throughout, the text is a little bit blendy into the background in terms of a lighter color and not as large of the characters, but still aesthetically pleasing all the way around. It's not something that I would necessarily skip past. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, and it has like a good kind of structure with, character on the left, character on the right, and then, guy in the center. I think just zooming in a little bit more would probably help this out or would give it a little bit more of a boost. But I think all in all, it is not a bad thumbnail in any stretch.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just shift everything in a little bit just to zoom in. But again, I agree with what you're saying, Josh.
So, in terms of the grade, I guess for you, what are you thinking for this one?
Well, based on stuff that I've seen before and run across, it is not the very best. As we mentioned, there are some improvements that could be done. So I would say that it's above average. So C being average, let's go with B minus or so. That's where I would live with this.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that C plus B minus range myself. Like, I think it's above average for sure, but I don't see it doing enough, I think, to like really stand out, like be impactful like that.
Yeah.
So I think C plus B minus, I think that's a fair measure for this.
For sure.
So, with that, let us go to the trailer. So, let me switch over here, and hopefully OBS will pick that up. There we go. So, one of the big things about this is there's two trailers. There's a... Oh, I'm going to have to adjust this as well. There's a 6.5-minute one, and that is just kind of like generalized footage. It looks to be more of an up-to-date version of it, which I'm going to just play for a few seconds here for the recording. But this is not a main trailer. Again, your main trailer should be no more than, I would say, 90 seconds long, and that is on a good day. Maybe more, closer to a minute is usually fair, but the shorter, more impactful, the better. So, I'm going to queue up his other trailer really fast. Has the ability. There we go. Let's see. Did it actually queue? There we go. So I'm going to start playing it now. Oh, Opens up with kind of a cold opening. Lower the sound just a little bit. Got some characters fighting. And you can definitely see like some like frame rate loss in a few of these like opening scenes.
Yeah, the gameplay looks like it's struggling in the like your first impact into the trailer is that the gameplay looks like it's struggling a bit.
And it doesn't feel like the music is really matching what's going on, what we're seeing.
Yeah, the music kind of starts out at a higher tempo or a higher intensity and kind of stays there throughout, while the trailer itself ramps up and then hits you with the action.
And it does seem like the footage, like in like the back half, could be from a more later build. Like there's less text, and it seems to be running a little bit faster as well.
For sure. Yeah, and that part becomes very apparent when you watch it a second time. You think that there's frame rate issues, then you like maybe it's my computer that's having problems. Then the text slate comes up and it's beautifully animated. And then it gets to later gameplay, which looks very smooth.
Yeah. And when we get to the end, you can see it has like the big old coming 2022 and the Steam logo. It looks like it's just kind of like stamped on. And there's definitely an issue with the resolution for this trailer. If I go back for a second, let me replay it here. Let me make sure OBS still likes it. Yeah, it's still like it feels like it's definitely being cut off to some extent. But if we go back to the minute 12, you can see on the left and right that the border is like it feels like the trailer's at the wrong resolution, so they're like showing like incorrect stuff there, or like they're showing other footage.
Yeah, the image that was used is obviously too small for the aspect ratio, and so the sides were filled in. That happens a lot in mobile phone footage, that kind of thing when it's vertical. But here, there's not too much reason for that. And to your point of the coming 2022 being stamped on, it does. It looks like the impact font or something similar was just layered onto it, just kind of thrown. It's not really centered. It's not. It doesn't feel like it's weighted well left and right.
Yeah. I actually
it does. It feels after the fact.
Yeah, I just noticed another problem. If you go to the 13-second mark of the trailer where it's showing like the establishing footage, they left the mouse cursor like on like the trailer itself. Like for those of you looking or watching, sorry, you see me circling it right now with my pointer. But yeah, that is not good. Like that should not be captured by the trailer footage.
Oh my god, you're right. Good call.
Yeah.
It does. It feels like some of the one thing I will say, and this is where the theme comes in. The star of the show looks good. The gameplay itself, it's nice and colorful. As ARPGs go, it looks like it hits all those notes. You see the enemy's bars. You got all the hack and slash going on. But there's everything else that could be support role is pulling away.
Yeah.
Details like the bars on the side of the mouse cursor, that's tough.
Yeah, and there's too much text, and the text that's there is very hard to read in a lot of cases, depending on what's going on in that background.
Yeah, the UI seems to have some trouble fighting with the backgrounds. They're very similar colors being used.
Yeah. So for this one, as we've said on previous shows, the trailer is where the bulk of your grade is, and oftentimes a good trailer can make or break a game. And unfortunately, I cannot give this one a high score. And the whole finding the mouse cursor, that just happened as we were recording this. Like I didn't even notice this when we were doing our pre-stream kind of or pre-recording review of it. So I was originally kind of leaning D-D. I think I may have to just go straight D- for the trailer.
Yeah, I agree with that. When and I mentioned this kind of before, when the trailer itself, we're not doing the game. The gameplay is the star of it. It looks nice, but as soon as you start seeing these other things, you can't unsee it.
Yep.
So when you bring up that mouse cursor, it's like, oh gosh. Well, now I'm starting to think that the developer kind of pushed this together really fast. The gameplay had me, but
Yeah.
now when I'm starting to think more about whether or not I'm going to spend my money or that kind of thing, that pulls me away. It kind of I can lump it into all these other games that are
Hmm.
just kind of shovelware. Again, it looks solid, so it doesn't take much. You want to support that,
Hmm.
but this does take away from the overall experience. So as a trailer goes,
Hmm.
I agree. It's a D minus.
Yeah, and again, for developers watching, if you are working with different builds of your game for your trailer, you want to keep that footage consistent. I don't know if this is making use of different builds just from watching this, but you can tell there's parts where it slows down or doesn't look as sharp as it does in other sections. And again, consistency like this is a major point of selling your game because, like what Rob just said, if I'm questioning your trailer, what else is going wrong? And conversely, if your trailer is amazing, I can only assume that the game is going to be better or equal to that.
Yeah, it's the book by its cover
Yep.
thing.
So let's go to the images. And again, images are oftentimes very easy to either get a decent score or get a very low score on. So images, for the most part, I believe are original.
The thing that I love about the images, and again, this goes back to the gameplay looking really nice. You get to see some of those powers. You get to see some of those spells,
Hmm.
and they're all very colorful. And the area of effect bubble that you see in like the what is it, the fourth or fifth image? Oh no, we're at like six, the sixth
Hmm.
image or so. I mean, that kind of stuff I can see envision the gameplay, and that looks like a lot of fun and
Hmm.
it's rewarding. The electricity coming after that being a different color. Looks like wind coming after that. So there's a lot of the nude guy. That was when I noticed that was a little distracting. It looks very nude in a couple pictures, but it was on the whole it looks really interesting. But
Hmm.
the one thing that draws me away is the UI again,
Hmm.
because it is the text specifically. A lot of time UI just kind of blends in, but once you just have an image, I see. Oh, well, I'll let you comment on the watermark, but yeah,
Yeah.
the text, the destroy the barricade. I guess that's the quest, and then the enemies left or buildings left to burn. That kind of stuff. The logo on the upper left, it's busy, and it just it's hard to know what to do with that. And as soon as I see it, it kind of detracts from what is otherwise a gorgeous looking image that you started with.
Yeah, and something that Rob brought up while we were doing the pre-review, you can tell in a few screenshots that the footage is being cropped. Because if you look on thumbnail number 3, you can see the logo is kind of in a different position compared to screenshot number 4 or screenshot number 2. So there's
You mean like
certainly,
the world map, uh, the map, or the oh both the logo
yeah,
and the
both. Yeah, and the watermark very hard to make out in a lot of cases. And is that issue? Oh, I just noticed another issue as well. Not this is not so much a directly related to this, but I think it's a bug within the game. If you look at the bottom left on screenshot 2, you see like the Thunderbolt icon. It's not being properly looks like overlaid compared to the other ones that are kind of more circular. So it
I
looks
think there are circles within a hexagon, and yeah,
yeah,
that one is a square. That's correct. Not cropped properly. So those
yeah.
little bugs, which I'm sure is either a bug that's been taken care of already,
Hmm.
just refresh these images, and that we'll come to this. Like the planned release date coming soon
Hmm.
means you got time. Go back, take care of some of these issues. But
Yeah.
yeah, you got a good eye for this stuff. All this
Yeah.
stuff that we missed earlier, just like mouse cursor. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, I've gotten good just doing so many of these in terms of like picking out these like little issues and things like that. But yeah, and then the final one that's just the title card kind of zoomed in a little bit more. That doesn't really count as an image. So they got more than enough images. We want at least 5. They are original, but they're not the best images. And that's what really hurts. Like you don't obviously you want to show the game off as accurately as you can, But you also want these images because these are going to be your marketing materials. This is what people are going to try and post on, websites or in reviews or, their own thumbnails. And these images just don't really sell the game. There's just way too much text. The watermark is just very distracting and at best, and can be even hard to see at worst. So I can't see giving this even just the gentleman's C. I feel like D plus range for me.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to mention because this kind of bugged me when we first looked at it, that the title card image, the last image that you have, is the exact same image as the cover art, but the cover art seems like a stretched version. Like you can see things are a little wider, a little flatter, and this image, which is oddly cropped on the sides, is looks normal because the font looks like straightforward and the body sizes look fine. But then you look at the other one. So instead of having two separate assets here, we've got one that's been reused. And that there's no reason to do that. It's really easy to do a screen grab and some cropping. That should be a relatively easy mistake to fix. Because the worst case, the Buluk Mayan warfare should be a hard title, not a font that you can just copy and paste, and it should be very consistent everywhere you see it. So when it seems a little bit stretched on the first impression, that's where I feel like there could be a little bit more attention to detail.
So you think you're fine with like DD plus for
great.
this?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I just want to emphasize the gameplay looks great, the star of the show looks great, but when we're talking about presentation in terms of marketing, in terms of catching someone's eye, those little negatives do cause me to like, there's just so much noise out there. And while I'm drawn in by the graphics, when I see these things, it kind of pushes me away.
Yeah.
There's just, Steam is just, lousy with games. So do what you can.
Yep. All right, so let us go down to the About This Game section. And we unfortunately have more issues to report. So, right off, we have this first paragraph, which I think is just right on the borderline of being maybe just a touch too long. We usually want, ideally, maybe 3 to 4 lines of text, kind of, for a single paragraph. Maybe pushing maybe 4.5, 5. So, I mean, it's right on the edge, but it's just kind of flavor text right here.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. Like this is a kind of a history and area of the world that's very interesting, and it just seems like such a cool setting. But yeah, you tighten it up. There's some active versus passive sentences. Just make it shorter. There's a lot of kind of wordsmithing you can do to tighten it up and still say what you want to say.
Yep. Now, the other issue, though, is with this GIF right here, which I do not like this one. It looks like it's not being properly the right aspect ratio for Steam.
Yeah, and this is one where I can't tell if the aspect ratio is locked and is required. It seems unlikely, but the fact that you have a black bar on the top and the bottom just means that that it wasn't cropped. The image, the GIF itself wasn't, sized appropriately as it should be. I mean, it should just be the same size as the game. There's no reason to have a black bar on top or bottom.
Yeah, and the GIF itself is also way too long. I think I count about 7 to 7.5 seconds. So it's just, again, it's really not doing anything. The text is even harder to read in some areas. And you can tell, again, that it's being cropped, I think, improperly, because, again, you can see kind of on the right-hand side, the mini-map that's, being cut off almost by maybe, 3/4.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you talk about the length here. This very specific GIF could be split up into 4 very different ones. That you got the attack, you've got the dodge, you've got the spell. All of this stuff is a separate thing to brag about,
Mm-hmm.
and can just be a little 6 to 12 frame GIF, and you don't have to worry about it after that.
Yeah. Now we scroll down. We have these little sections. He's got the text bold, but it doesn't really like stand out. I think we like maybe be bold and blue text at minimum. But
Yeah.
the other
Mhm.
issue is that these images that we're seeing, they're exactly taken from the images up top. So you're not showing off anything new.
Correct. Uh, the who is the NACOM? You'd want to close up of the character, I would imagine. Which I see in the website. There's a little bit more of a close up. That kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing could be really cool. But yeah, when you see who is the NACOM,
Mm-hmm.
it should be a much larger text. We've referenced some other similar pages, but using title cards like actual images instead of just
Mm-hmm.
using the Steam uh, text bold to just really draw it apart and show
Mm-hmm.
actual sections instead of just. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to tell, like bold versus regular text if they're the same size font.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. You can avoid that if you really
Yeah.
want to.
And definitely needs more GIFs. Again, if you have an action-based game, you want to show off the action. And like unite your tribe your way. I think I think you said earlier we could just say you could just be unite your tribe, like, and then just like have a GIF of like different attacks, different spells. Again, you want to give the player as many reasons to play your game as you reasonably can. And then the same thing we go down to strengthen your NACOM, research spells, craft weapons. And this is something that I like to harp on, like when it comes to store pages. If you're describing systems in your game, I want to see them somewhere, as an image in the trailer and some kind of footage, because you're telling me stuff that I'm not seeing, and that's not good.
Yeah, for crafting and researching, there's generally a UI
Mm-hmm.
page associated with that. You could just show that. So like here on the left is the ingredients required to make the item on the right, or if there's an NPC that is
Mm-hmm.
the crafter or something like that. Yeah, this is just another screen grab from
Yeah.
somewhere within the video or another screen you use.
Mm-hmm.
Does like blocking something doesn't showcase crafting.
Yeah. So grade wise, again, about this game is not selling it. And that unfortunately is the goal of the store page. So I think I have to lean again to like the D minus range for me.
Yeah, I'm in D minus as well. I think the thing that sells me on the D minus mostly is the titles.
Mm-hmm.
This is your people are scrolling down to learn more about the game, having some impactful text just to guide them and guide their journey through learning about more about the game. It just isn't there, and that'd be
Yeah.
nice to see. It'd be nice
Yeah.
to see.
And the GIF at the top is not a good representative of the game as well.
I think it's the fact that it's zoomed in. It's either the fact that it's zoomed in. It has much more of a cell shading look than any of the other areas of the
Mm-hmm.
page. Even the screenshots below don't have those hard outlines. At least they're not very discernible
Yeah.
because the GIF is zoomed in. It makes it looks like a different art style.
Yeah, and for the people watching this, I'm showing the footage again from the most up to date video, the 6 minute 46 one. And if you're looking at this footage, you can tell it's a lot sharper in terms of its shading. Like, I feel like this is like the most up to date footage of Bullock or most up to date content engine wise. And I think the entire trailer and everything on this page should have been shot using this. Because again, you're confusing players, and I think it's really cheapening the entire game when you don't do it like that.
For sure, yeah. Just recapture. It's one of those pains. But when I had to create some of these Steam pages a long time ago for some games I was working on, and not being that great at the art software. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
graphic designer, but I do know that when I make a mistake, I have to do it again. and
Mhm.
it sucks. Like if I crop something wrong, I got to go do it again, and I'll keep
Yeah.
making that same mistake until I finally get it right. And I'm like, okay, thank God I can rest. But the same
Yeah.
goes for the videos. You know, if I have a new build, well, I got to go
Mhm.
make new videos and new screen captures from scratch. I can't leave an old video up there. I have to take it down and put a new one in its place.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
And I just found in the 6 minute trailer what part they use for that GIF at the bottom. So they definitely have the footage. So I think this was a some kind of miscalculation with generating the GIF from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go to the final point, the title card. Again, this is the one that is the easiest to get a high score on, but it's also is the least impactful for your grade because this is all more for the algorithm and for influencers as well. So we got the name. We have 3 genre tags: action, indie, and RPG, and they're missing again the gimme, which is single player. But again, action RPG, I think the game fits really well in both those points. And again, the minimum is 3. We have a website, which hopefully OBS will let me. Yeah, it did pull it up. Website is okay. I don't think it's like the best website we've seen, but we have information. Looks like we have kind of like the same categories. Like it's not. Like, I don't think it hurts the page or hurts the game. I don't think it's really helping. Like, I don't think that's going to give us any more points. Let's see, we have Twitter, we have YouTube, so that stuff is relevant. And again, like this is the stuff that it's simple. Like you either get a really good score or you get a really bad score. Like it's rare to see this section get like a C. So it meets the requirements of the genre tags. It has a website. I think for me, I'm just going to give it just a solid B. Like I
Yeah.
don't see like anything above and beyond, but I see it goes at least above average.
Yeah, I do want to mention. I clicked on the itch page from the
Mm-hmm.
main website, and I want to agree with your grade. I think that that's fantastic. But in the itch page, that title card that was stretched on Steam is stretched even more
Ooh.
on the itch page. So yeah, just a different capture, different
Mm-hmm.
screenshot. You can feel free to go in and Photoshop some of that stuff. It doesn't need to copy the title page of the game itself if that
Mm-hmm.
in fact is what's going on.
Yeah. So, final grade time. And for those new tuning in, how we do this is we factor in the trailer grade, and then all the other grades can either raise or lower, depending upon how big of a jump or decline there is. So, we gave the trailer a D minus. I think we both kind of averaged D minus for it. And I don't see enough anywhere else to raise it up, even by a quarter of a grade. I think for me, final grade for this page is a D minus.
Yeah, I'm D minus with you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got time. You can fix all this stuff, improve all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, bring yourself up to a B. You know, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't know if you even are able to do this, or if you've ever done it in the past of regrading a page that's been updated. That'd be
We
kind of cool to
have
see.
we have done them if they've been requested by developers. If you would like us to re-review one in the future, if you've done enough work, like if we're going to do a re-review, it's probably going to
Yeah,
be one time. Yeah, it's not something we're going to be doing like every 2 weeks of a build. Like if you're going to submit it for a re-review, make sure it is as good as you reasonably can.
yeah. It's
And
like resubmitting with an A plus paper instead of the D minus.
yeah, so like Rob said, the one good thing about this is that the game has no release date yet. Like, it's not really at the point where I think it's being heavily marketed. So there is still plenty of time for getting this up to code, improving things. And again, when it comes to these store pages, oftentimes it very little things, or quote unquote very little, can have huge impacts. Adding in better text for the about this game, or bolder text, making the trailer a little bit better. Again, if you can improve your trailer, that automatically bumps everything else around it up. and it's why we harp on good trailers for marketing and for these shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like one of the most important aspects of raising this grade, because this is a service. I feel like taking this everything that Josh has said in the past, and was the co-host also Josh? I can't quite remember.
Shark, yeah.
The those comments should be like definitely followed. Like sometimes it may be overly negative. You may come across as negative. It's not. I mean, it's that way because that's how we're doing it. It's how we're gonna. We gotta kind of show something here. But take it as a positive. Take it as a way to improve, get your sales up, like proactively. And because you have time, I think you can do a lot of good stuff here. Really bring that. Whoa, where did that sound come from?
Yeah.
Okay, but the trailer decided to start playing again for some reason. In my ears. So yeah, take another shot at it. That when I have ARPGs as like my preferred game in Steam, it's going to give me just a slew of them all at the same time. So anything that allows your game to stand out in terms of or not be held back in terms of the details is going to cause me to be more likely to put it on a wish list or even pull the trigger when either at that moment or when a sale comes around or on launch, even better.
Yep. So I think that's all we really have to say. So we're going to end the episode here. So Rob, thank you so much for coming on. What did you think about doing a store page review?
Oh, I like it. I do want this to come across as helpful because indie development is so difficult. Like especially in a time where indie games from an audience perspective is not as high as it was 5-10 years ago, but it's still like very important. A lot of people want to support younger developers, want to support newer developers. I shouldn't say younger necessarily. But that's people really like that. People really like to support those non AAA types, and giving them a reason to do so is very important because they're still spending money. Whether or not they want to support somebody, So yeah, anything you can do to get my money is good.
All right. But we're going to say goodnight here. So, as always, do the liking, subscribing, and commenting. Let us know what you think about the format. Anything, improvements, criticisms, praise, whatever you want to throw at us. Let us know in the comments down below. And if people are enjoying these shows and you would like to submit a game for a future indie inquiries, please reach out. Again, you can send me a message on Twitter, email, hop on the Discord. We have an entire thread of games that have been submitted. And other than that, this will probably not be a weekly show as we do have to keep to whatever our backlog is. But we'll be trying to do these more regularly in the future. So again, Rob, thank you for coming on as the co-host, and we shall see what people think when this goes up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hope you guys enjoy it.
All right, so for those of you watching, thanks again, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, whereas they are on science of games. And until next time, take care.